What should we learn from this COVID-19 pandemic? People with disabilities could have worked remotely for years. Not just that, so many of the accessibility requests we've made could have been honored with basically no cost. Companies just didn't want to. Our employees are as productive as they've ever been, despite working fewer hours and no commute. Anything can happen no matter how absurd it sounds. Yes, and by anything I mean literally anything. That a lot of people are dumbasses. Roughly half of the population is below average. And that's a pretty low bar. We need to handle our financial situation. Edit. Thank you kind user for the platinum. It makes the Hamilton shit poster in me happy. Or we need a secondary income source. Should have hugged more when we had the chance. Dead people receives more flower than alive. Don't take anything for granted. Being able to hug family members and see friends and having a job and going to school act. Retail workers have feelings too. While you're in our stores yelling at us for not having certain essential products, just know that we're struggling to find that stuff for our families too. We had a customer threaten to not shop at our store anymore because we didn't have a particular kind of dog food in stock. Sorry lady. But we're in Florida and so are our warehouses. The state's getting FK'd by coronavirus and so is the supply line. What are we supposed to do? Send a stern letter to coronavirus telling it to stop? Force workers to work double time in a risky environment just so your stupid precious little angel can eat her preferred gourmet food? Sad thing is I know she's not gonna stop shopping here. She'll probably come in again and complain over and over again. Even if the cure is staying home and watching TV, we'll still mess it up somehow. Working from home is good. Learning from home not so much. It'll take years to show, but our children's education will suffer because of this. I'm not saying we should throw all the kids back in the school and get them all sick. I honestly don't have a better suggestion than learning from home. But the idea that you can sit a 10-year-old in front of a computer screen, have them listen to boring lectures all day, and actually absorb any information at all is f***ing stupid. What WH should learn is vastly different to what we will actually learn. Reality is often disappointing. Our entire system was way too fragile. Turns out operating on razor-thin margins can come crashing down if normal life is disrupted for more than 3 weeks. Supply chains need to be diversified and we need to stop chasing the cheapest options. Corporate real estate and cities full of office is overvalued. I think we'll see less of a focus on having to be in near a major urban center. A large portion of our population is a few bad days away from total financial ruin, and it turns out that more often than not, those are the people WHO keep this whole shitty system afloat. Also turns out I've been apparently harboring a lot of rage against the way things are just under the surface for a while now. Our systems are all held in a delicate network of fine threads. We don't acknowledge this and run the economy like there is never a rainy day. Don't worry. The US government will always be there, ready to dump another $1 trillion into Wall Street. Too big to fail. Except you. They don't care about you. You would expect that during a goddamn pandemic all the countries would come together and help each other by sharing research and other data on studies conducted. And that they would send personnel and equipment to those who need it. That during this pandemic the entire world would unite and face it together. Turns out we are just some selfish bitches. Viruses do not care about elections. They don't care if any politician gets re-elected or not. Viruses don't care how you feel about the stuff you have to do to keep from getting the virus. They don't care if you like wearing a mask, are tired of social distancing, really want to go on vacation, or don't like online schooling. Viruses don't care if a business or industry goes under. Viruses generally don't affect only people of a particular race, nationality, or political views. They might disproportionately affect one group. But that doesn't mean that you're safe because you're not in that group. We should have learned this one from AIDS in the 80s. But some people are slow learners. Listen to the scientists. Also, just understand that part of science is being wrong at times. A lot of people forgot the scientific method. The first thing to do is form a hypothesis. Then test it. Often. Probably more often than not. Your hypothesis will be wrong. But that is you get to the right answer. To just be kind. Why won't we lift each other up instead of being so selfish? Give one of your 18 packages of toilet paper to the 80-year-old woman who can't trample through the crowd. Wear a f***ing mask. Nobody is stomping on your freedoms. Smile at each other. Don't judge on what they look like. Don't complain because McDonald's gave free food to emergency workers and not you. Life isn't that bad. And nobody is getting out alive. We make it harder on each other? Why? We will never know the struggle each other is going through. Why can't we just be nice? Working is overrated. We need to slow the FCK down. The economy survives even when lots of people don't work. And yet there's resources for them. Let's give us 3-day weekends for starters. This may be the most important. And make lots of jobs available to work from home. Make homeschool a norm too. Why are we working so much? And so little weekend? This ain't 1900 anymore. We need a more relaxed way of lifestyle. Basic education still has a long way to go. That I wasted my time getting a master's in public health because when we're needed the most no one f***ing listens to this lol. Remove all street markets with live animals. And respect nature in general. I would like for us all to continue the trend in wearing masks when we're sick. Great idea, but my expectations from some people is almost zero. That rich people don't actually drive the economy and aren't particularly vital. All the workers that saved our butts during this are minimum wage workers or near minimum wage workers. Grocery store clerks. Delivery drivers. Warehouse workers. Meat packers, veggie pickers. Etc. Those are the people that kept millions fed and as safe as possible. 1. Healthcare needs to be universal. 2. Daycare needs to be subsidized. 3. Education needs better funding. 4. Working from home is a viable option for many careers. 5. The spread of misinformation on social media is making monkeys of people. 6. Republican politicians don't give a single FCK about you and your problems. Just because we can travel and ship things all over the globe doesn't mean we should rely on it. Obviously it's not possible with all things. But countries need to be more self-reliant with the really important stuff so the citizens can survive if things turn to shit. That Hollywood movies might not be as unrealistic as we thought in regards to people reacting to emergencies. Contagion had it spot on. Like, I still watch the film and feel weird seeing the exact situation play out on screen. Health insurance should not be tied to employment. Toilet paper will be the currency of the post-apocalypse. I'll tell you what I did learn. I hate people more than I thought. I feel you. I've always realized people were selfish, malicious and stupid, but I underestimated the extent. That there really are people who are privileged and are too comfortable with their lifestyle. They think everything's alright. They go with the flow of life. How the government govern the people even though they do a horrible job and make many people suffer because of it. That's what's happening in my country now. They live too comfortably to care. That is, until it hit them as well. But also, there are many people who do care. And care for the many. They fight for those who suffer and are being oppressed. And they do it in numbers to make sure their voice is loud and clear and are being heard by those who needs to hear. Ultimately, we need to learn to be more human and empathize with one another because we are in a pandemic. This affects us globally. And there's not one who doesn't suffer. Even though you don't think you do. Don't allow the majority of your manufacturing to be handled in a single country. Especially not one as mischievous as China. The universe is indifferent to us. You are owed a better roll of the history dice than anyone else. Bad things will happen. You can't fix them. Just get through it. Also, how to be alone with yourself. Emo people who are very busy and social are often seen as very mentally well. But if you can't sit with yourself in silence for a good while, I think the busy is just masking the unhealthy. Meditation etc is great for trying to unpack that. That it doesn't take much to severely impact the lives of the poorest and most vulnerable people in the world. The UN estimates in some of the most impoverished places as much as 15 years progress towards evading abject poverty have been lost on the last 6 months. Don't elect idiots. America needs to stop investing in cops military and put a large portion of that into education. That false information spread faster than the virus and it's toxic and dangerous on so many levels. You got people dying from it. For example, someone in my country drank hand sanitizer because of some info on Facebook, and that's just one of the many examples I could give you. Should not be offshoring infrastructure for manufacturing to China or any other nation. Hygiene is up there too. Third is that the concept of you must come to the office to do your job is bullshit for 80% of jobs in the internet era. That we pay a lot of really important workers far too little, and that we should look up to those workers that benefit society on the ground level. Truck drivers, store workers, nurses, doctors and farmers come to mind. Also, we should look at things much more flexibly. Like work. So many have been told that working for home just can't be done in our company, and now suddenly it was very easy to have work from home. Showing that maybe it's more work routine that isn't as impossible as we are often told. How to build and support your immune system. I'm surprised more people don't talk about this. Having a strong immune system is so important for your health in general. Pandemic or not. Yeah. Tell that to people with allergies, asthma or autoimmune disease. Be careful what you wish for. 1. Don't read too much from the media. They over-exaggerate things. They try to be sensational and make people panic to gain clicks and views. 2. Don't trust WHO if the pandemic is started in China. That locking down only delays the virus. Every country has locked down, and once restrictions get eased, cases spike. I am interested to see how much higher suicide drug overdoses there are this year, as I can only imagine how much higher this is due to people being forced to stay home. Wouldn't be surprised if we lost more lives to suicide than the virus this year. That in a zombie apocalypse, most countries would actually be fine. But to the US, Brazil and a few others, it would be the end. I can just picture Karen saying, when they bite you, the bacteria in their mouth kills the virus. Getting bit is a way to prevent the infection. You're all sheep. I did my research. The media and government has been lying to you. Zombie really stands for Zionist occupation military of biological individuals. Everyone. They are literally telling you their plans right there in the word zombie. I heard about it through a video on Facebook. It's all just a way for Jeff Bezos to cut off your titties and dicks. Wake up, sheeple. Double quote. Take the environmental crisis seriously. By taking more and more of nature's land, we have a higher chance of getting even worse virus. The break from normal all-day life had such an positive impact on nature's health that many of the people who keep the world going need to be appreciated more. Seeing who was essential during this was really interesting. It's not just that they often aren't respected, and I'm not just talking about rude customers, but even still many don't have insurance. I really find it hard for people, even now, to be against universal healthcare. Like, you want these people to have to work during a pandemic, but not even be able to afford prescriptions if they get sick? Nothing is permanent. Don't have kids unless you're prepared to suddenly lose all your options for childcare. A lot of parents are getting screwed, but NASA. That our cure has been 10x worse than the disease. That China is an evil state. That organizations like the UN and WHO are not competent, let alone benevolent. That many mayors and governors are wannabe tyrants. Hot take. People have an interest in self-defense. However you feel about firearms, you can't deny their surge in sales. So many of my friends who aren't gun people became interested in 2020. Problem is, there's a massive ammo shortage. Personal responsibility. particularly in terms of finances and health. There are too many people that would have been facing eviction almost immediately after their jobs closed had the government not stepped in with weekly checks. You should not be dependent on that happening in the future if something else happens to your ability to work. You need emergency savings. Also, we need to take care of ourselves health-wise. This should be a wake-up call to people regarding smoking, obesity, lack of exercise, etc. This disease really doesn't pose a great risk to people unless they are already relatively unhealthy. Some of that is beyond a person's control, but not all of it. We need to improve our overall health as a country, and fast.